Welcome to the 9th episode of the Rebound. We're rounding off the top 10 list. We're going with centers today, the last of the list. Perhaps it might be the most controversial of the list because we both love centers. I think center might be my favorite position. Most of my jerseys are probably centers. I love centers. I love the big man. We love the rebound. So this might get, we might have criticism for each other.
I think it's just hard to play centers sometimes because of
a lot of centers play different now.
People like Cat and Gobert, two very different players.
Yeah.
And
it's hard to rank when they do such different things.
So I'll start it off on number 10.
Number 10.
Little bit of deliberation about Jared Allen, number 10. I think he took that leap this year.
Yeah.
With
All-Star.
With Garland, yeah, All-Star. I think that was very good for his career to leave the Nets because I don't really think he was going for anything there except for maybe a ring if he was able to stay. So I don't know. I think that he's a good balance. The way I see him, he's honestly just like JaVale McGee.
But really good.
JaVale McGee, but in his prime. Because he's really athletic. He's a good defender.
Good
and
shot blocker.
He's a great shot blocker, and he doesn't shoot. So
and
he's not
he's trying to shoot threes.
He's kind of like
JaVale.
Miles Turner.
No, Miles Turner is.
He's a better defender, I guess. Yeah. So no. All right. So your 10.
That leads me to my 10. I was literally up until this moment. I had 4: Nurkic, Capella, Turner.
To put a 10.
Rob Williams. Yeah, and I ended up with Miles Turner.
Oh man.
Because he averages 13 and 7. 7 is probably the lowest rebounds on this list, or even in like a top 15. But he averaged 2.8 blocks. He was the leader in blocks for most of the season, and he can shoot the three better than, besides Karl Anthony Towns, probably better than anyone on this list with the highest volume on this list. When he is off the court, the other team is a +7 ±, which is huge. And like for someone like a Rob Williams, it's a +4 when they're off the court. So that's just 3 whole points is a whole impact, plus all the blocks he's getting.
I don't think you can judge it off of that because the Pacers were the 13th seed and the Celtics were the 2nd seed. So that's why I would put Rob Williams there instead of him because he was a starting center for like almost the entire year. Except for, of course, that time where he got injured, but he was a part of that Celtics turnaround. He was a big part of that Celtics finals run, and I feel like you had to have him there just because of that finals run that he made.
For me, if you said that for someone like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I agree with you because we haven't seen him play meaningful basketball since he was a rookie on the Clippers, and they were just getting blown out by the Warriors.
Well, I mean,
but Miles Turner have been
probably a year.
Miles Turner has been a great defender. Been an impactful defender every single year. They've been playing in the playoffs against LeBron, against the Celtics. He averaged 3.4 the year before. He averaged 2.1 before that. He averaged 2.7. He's led the league in blocks twice. He almost did again. He tied with Jaren Jackson Jr. actually, but he didn't play enough games to beat him out. So I just think he's shown his impact when it's winning. So for someone who's shown it while it's winning and it hasn't decreased while they're losing, it just shows he's a valuable player no matter if you win, no matter if you lose. And his stretchability makes him extremely valuable.
That's a good argument. I see it. All right, so moving on to 9 now. Pingus. I have Porzingis. You know, he's one of the only centers on this list to average 20. And, you know, I like that move to the Wizards was mind-blowing to me because I felt like the Mavs got nothing in return. But I think that was definitely a positive for Porzingis' career. It did because looking at it now, he averaged 19.2, I think it was, on the Mavs. And then he had a 3-point per game increase when we moved to Washington. And he really fulfilled that unicorn role on there, shooting 28% for the first year on Dallas, and then he moves to Washington, and bam, he shoots 36%. The second half of the year, he had a 10% increase for 3-point percentage, even though that only resulted in a 3 points per game increase, that's still a lot over just the second half of the season, where he had a bigger role on that team. And of course, they didn't have the success to show it because, you know, I had injuries like Bradley Beal, who was obviously the central piece of that Wizards team. But I still think it's really impressive what he was able to do over there. So I have it at 9.
So I left Porzingis, Pingus, off of my top 10 list, and I looked at it and I saw he averaged 20 and 8, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. But we've talked about it. The first half of the Dallas season, he was literally a nothing. He was a 7. He was just Davis Bertans. He was getting a lot of minutes. He was shooting a lot of threes from really deep. They're not efficient. He was shooting 28%. For this, you have to factor in the whole year. If he just played if he played in Washington the whole time, I'd probably have him at 7. But he played 34 games out of his 51.
So you're saying that he's not on the list because it was collective? It's
Yeah,
collective.
yeah.
All right.
I'm saying he didn't do enough. And even when he was on those Wizards team, it's not like they were winning a ton. Like, he got there and he changed it around. It's not like he was the only guy. Yeah, it's like Sabonis. And so I just feel like the other people above him were on their teams putting in work the whole season. Even if they wavered below, it was only for a bit. He wavered below the entire first half of the season, and that's what led him to be traded.
Okay.
Even though it worked out for him. So I had at 9 someone who kind of plays like him. I had Nikola Vucevic, who averages 18, 11, and 3. He averages more rebounds by Porzingis, even though he's probably 3 inches shorter. And he still shoots like Porzingis. And in the beginning, he sucked, but
yeah, the first, I want to say third of the season, the last 2/3 of the season,
he was really good. I felt for the last 2/3 of the season, and during the playoffs, they were kind of giving the ball to him because they were stopping DeMar.
Yeah, because you had because when Chris Middleton got injured in the playoffs, then in that first round, obviously the Bucks still beat the Bulls 4-1 in that series, but when Chris Middleton got injured, I was watching and they had DeMar be guarded by Giannis sometimes, and that would leave a lot of space for Vucevic. And I'll talk a bit about Vucevic when I talk about him, because I do have a few things that I want to say for him, but I can see where you put him in there.
Yeah, it's just he was getting buckets throughout the season for that team in the playoffs going against Brook Lopez, who would have been in my top 10 if he was playing and healthy the whole season, because he's one of the greatest defenders at the center position we've seen probably the last decade. I'd say top 10. And people don't really recognize that. And he was going against that the whole playoff series, or Bobby Portis, or sometimes Giannis when he wasn't on DeMar. And he was putting in that work, as the stats show. And I couldn't put him higher. So
okay.
For my 8, I had DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton. Actually, if I could change it right now, I'd put DeAndre Ayton at 9.
DeAndre at 9? I had him above, because at 8 I have Rob Will.
Wow.
I have Rob Will, because I've always liked Rob Will, you know that?
Yeah, so
and,
I didn't even have him on my list, because he was in my top 15 consideration, but when you when you average 10 and 10, that's cool. You're like Hassan Whiteside. He plays good defense.
It's the playoffs, dude.
He plays good defense.
It's the success of that team.
He's the success of that team, but he's just if I had to choose Robert Williams over any of these guys, I'd take any of these guys. I'd take Clint Capella over Robert Williams, if we're being totally honest, because one of them is taller, getting more points, getting more rebounds. One of them is 6'8". Size matters in the NBA.
Size matters in the NBA.
Robert Williams wasn't even guarding the centers. Most of the time it was Al Horford, and Robert Williams would just be on the block, coming over to help defense and block shots. And most of the time that would let up threes in the corner. When he played center defense, he was really good at it. I won't discredit him. I thought he was pretty bad, but he was pretty good this season, really good this season. But sometimes he's just too short, and you could see the other centers taking advantage of him.
Okay. Yeah, I see him. I mean, so we're at 7 now, right? So
7, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So for 7, I had DeAndre Ayton.
For 7, I had Jonas Valanciunas.
Dude.
What? Was he on your list?
So, no.
Jonas Valanciunas averaged 18, 11, 3, 36% from 3. A huge jump for Jonas Valanciunas when he usually doesn't shoot that well. But he was also another backbone of one of those young teams. He's a backbone for that Pelicans team. He played 74 of the games during the playoffs. I swear, the first game he averaged 20. He had 20 rebounds. In the second game, he had 20 and 15. He was just carrying them through that run. And he was consistent the whole season. His consistency, when he was inconsistent, it was because he was getting better, not because he was getting worse. Jonas Valanciunas has always been a good rebounder, inside scorer his whole career. but now he's stepping out to that 3-point line, that mid-range. He's a big body to have on the block. Let's see how much he weighs. Jonas Valanciunas is a big boy, and I don't know. He could take anyone on the block on this list, I think. Even Rudy Gobert, he'd give trouble because he can space out to that 3, hit those hooks, hit those fades. And DeAndre Ayton, I want to slander DeAndre Ayton real quick. Can I do it?
No, because I have to go first.
I
So,
want to slander him.
because I didn't talk about Ayton yet.
Me neither.
So, I'm looking at a head-to-head comparison of Valanciunas and DeAndre Ayton in the playoffs right now because they did play each other. And it's fitting that we're talking about this now because, so, you look at their numbers, right?
Yeah.
In the playoff series, Ayton averaged more points, and he averaged 3 rebounds less. But
That's a lot of rebounds.
that's not that many rebounds. So, I still think that, I don't know, I still think that Ayton has the edge there just because I feel like he's so much more athletic and he's so much more skilled than Valanciunas. Like, how does Valanciunas score? Tell me, how does Valanciunas score? I know he shoots it.
On the block, he has that post hook. He has that little post fade. I mean, he was torching Ayton with it. Jonas Valanciunas averaged 14 rebounds on his head. That is the league leader in the playoffs this year. He averaged the most on top of Ayton, who's 6'11", who's taller than Valanciunas, but he's not a big body like Valanciunas. Valanciunas is going like this. He's hucking, he's fading, he's in the mid-range taking that. I didn't saw him take like a free throw line floater at the 3-point line. He's doing his catapult shot, kind of like Larry Bird, and he's hitting it, and he just outplayed Ayton completely. And
They
unlike,
still beat them in the playoffs, though, which is what matters.
that's not his fault, though. Unlike Ayton, he has no one to spoon feed him. Ayton has Chris Paul, he has Devin Booker. No one's really looking at Ayton, and Jonas Valanciunas was getting it really on his own.
All right.
And this is what I want to say about Ayton, because I wrote some things down about Ayton, because
Jeez.
I liked Ayton, but now I don't know. I don't mess with Ayton anymore. DeAndre Ayton averaged 2 free throws per game as a center. As a center, that is terrible. That's like 2 less than like a point guard. Like, I looked it up. Precious Achua, who was coming off the bench, who was getting probably like 14 less minutes, he averaged the same amount of free throw attempts. DeAndre Ayton's scared to bang with the big guys like Jonas Valanciunas.
All right, but I don't think you can say that he's scared to because who is getting the ball in those situations? It's Chris Paul and Devin Booker and Mikal Bridges.
He's averaging 17, but it's just like off floaters. I want to see him be that all-star. You should not have Mikal Bridges getting the ball over you. You should be asserting your dominance as a big man on a starting playoff team. That's what I think.
All right, but like in that series though, you had no one to guard Devin Booker, which is why like in the playoffs, Devin Booker was doing way better.
No. Herb Jones was locking that boy up. He wasn't really locking him up, but that's a good defender to put on him. Ayton should have tried his authority on Jackson Hayes and Willie Hernan-Gomez when Valanciunas wasn't there. And
well, to be fair, Jackson Hayes shouldn't have been there.
yeah, Jackson Hayes should be in jail.
All right,
and
well,
DeAndre Ayton shooting 0.3 threes a game when he's someone who's known to stretch it out like in college. Now he's not anymore. He has no offensive game if it wasn't for Chris Paul.
he's adapting to Chris Paul.
He should
He's
adapt
only a
to become
sophomore?
better
I did
player.
not know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, well, moving on from that, I'm going to go to number 6. Nikola Vucevic. A few things to say
Wow.
about him.
That's a
So,
little biased, isn't it?
it's not that biased because I've... Alright, so, first of all, Nikola Vucevic, not the most efficient shooter in the league,
No.
but by far one of the smartest. Let me elaborate. On Twitter a few days ago, I saw how Nikola Vucevic was outstanding in the amount of open threes that he took. I'm sure you saw this too because
Yeah,
I think I sent it to you. But he was one of the leaders in most open shots per game. He shot 22.9% of his 3-point field goals were 6+ feet wide open. That's amazing.
That's
really good. So
That's-
I think that his ability to stretch the floor, which is something that the Bulls need because on that team is full of a bunch of slashers. And I think that he fit really well on the team. But aside from that, he was just smart. Like he knew how to fit well with that team.
I think people
and-
look at his numbers and they discredit it. But if it wasn't for that first half of the season, he could have been in that All-Star conversation.
He would have been an All-Star.
He could have been, because if he's taking those smart shots, in the beginning he wasn't hitting them, but in the second and third half of the or quarter of the year, he was hitting them. He was making them. He was being a difference. Even on the defensive end, he's no slouch. Like, people will go up against him, but he's pretty big. He's got his hands up, and it makes it hard for some people to score against him because he is such a smart defender.
The only reason why I only have him as 6 is because of the defense. Like, I would watch when I was at Madison Square Garden and I saw the Knicks play them. I saw Mitchell Robinson just put up like 15 on his head.
Wow, that's embarrassing.
And I would look at Vooch. All he would do, put his hands up, and that was it. He wouldn't try to block it at all. He wouldn't jump from the spot. He was rooted to the ground, and I think that that's something that he has to change for the Bulls to like actually become a threat.
Yeah. At my 6, I had Jared Allen. I think
it's really high, man.
I think he deserves it. He's 16 points, 11 rebounds, which is similar to most of these players here. But he's a better defender than Jonas. He's a better defender than Ayton. He's a better defender than Vucevic. He's so different defensively than Turner that you can't really rank them together. And he shot 68% from the field goal. He led the NBA in percentage.
Really?
So he was just shooting really good shots. He was making really good shots. That made him an all-star. He was defending really good shots. And I think that's all you can really ask for centers. Like, if this was 10 years ago, he would have been all-NBA. That's literally DeAndre Jordan. That's someone who just does what their point guard tells them to do, scores when their point guard needs them to score, rebounds when they need him to, and guards the opposing paint. I think that makes him important. I think that makes him invaluable. And I think that makes him 6th on my list.
Okay.
Who's your 5?
My 5 was Bam Adebayo.
Me too. Bam.
Okay, so obviously one of the best defenders in the league. What was he for DPOY?
I think he was top 3 throughout the year, but I think he ended top 5.
Okay, so yeah, because he kind of dropped off a little bit at the end of the year, but like, there's no denying that he's one of the best defenders in the league. He's definitely up there with one of the few guys in the league that can guard Giannis. And the 1 through 5, you know, he's a 6'9" guy, but he's really mobile. He's got the size to compete with people like Giannis. I really don't see anyone having that much of a defensive edge over him. Like, there's nobody that there's really like that much better of a defender than him.
Him and Giannis, I think, are the best 2 defenders all around because they can both guard 1 through 5. Like, you can put Bam on a Brook Lopez, you could put Bam on a Giannis, on a Chris Middleton, on a Drew Holiday, because he's small but he moves his feet, but he's smart, he's quick, he can get those blocks.
And I don't think people would agree with us necessarily if you just look at the stats. You got 0.8 blocks this year, 1.4 steals this year, which steals is actually the highest in his career so far, so that's pretty good. But his blocks have never been that high, really, only 1.1. But you don't really need that. You honestly don't need that.
If you look at stats like steals and blocks, that'll lead you to believe like a person like Allen Iverson was a good defender. Don't look at steals and blocks. You have to look at his rating. You have to look at his impact. You gotta look at his win shares. And he's someone that's leading in all those categories for centers because he's able, like in Evan Mobley, who we talked about a couple of days ago, how he's able to guard 1 through 5, contest every shot. It's just the reason I had him lower than 4 on my list. I was gonna put him 4. In the playoffs, remember how bad he was? He wouldn't even take a shot. Yeah. He was scared. He probably averaged like 7 points in those playoffs.
Yeah, he averaged, this year in the playoffs, he still averaged 19, which is actually, 14,
which is a step down from what we expect.
But he still averaged the most, so he was an all-star when he averaged 15 points per game, when he played as a power forward in 2019, 2020. But now this year he averaged 19 and he still wasn't an all-star. So that I don't want to necessarily say that his defense took a dip, but I just think that there were that many people that were more outstanding than him. Alright, so I think with that we can move on to 4. I think from here it's gonna get pretty hotly debated.
Where I have Carl Anthony Towns.
I have Cat too.
Okay.
Best big shooting center in the entirety of the league and of all time. There's nobody else even like close really, like, just like except for Dirk, but you know he's different. Obviously his defense can take a bigger step, and I think we're not denying that. I think everybody knows that, but you know, despite what anybody says, he's still 6'11", and he's still gonna rack up blocks sometimes. And I think on a team with Anthony Edwards, who I've seen guard big men before. I've seen him do well against big men before. He knows how to work well with them. I think that, especially now with Gobert there, I think that, well, I know we're talking about last season, but his defense was definitely needed more last season than it will be this season. But I still think that everything that he did was just like enough.
Yeah, he's scoring the ball, he's rebounding the ball. Now that he has Gobert, he has to show he has the foot speed to play on the perimeter, which I really don't think he has, but
yeah,
we're going to see if he does. There's not really many flaws to his game because you can hide him defensively because there's not many bigs nowadays that are banging in the post. More bigs are like Joel Embiid, Anthony Davis, Jokic, who are in that mid-range area. And as long as he has his hand up, there's not much else that bigs are really going to do to attack him because bigs want to have a long career. Bigs don't want to bang in the post like they used to. And I don't know. I think that's what makes the NBA good now because it's more skill-driven, not size-driven. Like you can see a player like Isaiah Thomas living his career out here. He's had like a long time. Bam, even though he's 6'9", he could play center. Even though back then that would probably be like a small forward maybe.
Yeah. So then I'm thinking now our top three are pretty uniform now.
Probably the same. Gobert.
Yeah, Gobert at 3.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's hard to deny.
It's hard to deny because of his depoys. You know, obviously he's offensively probably the same as like DeAndre Ayton or whatever. I would say
Probably
he's
worse.
literally just like a
He's
little worse.
He's like Jared Allen, but way better defender.
Yeah. So I don't really think there's much to say about him there. I think we both have Embiid at 2.
Yeah.
We both have Embiid at 2 because you know he's just a force down there in the post, and you know, second in MVP voting 2 years in a row, which is saying he's the second best player in the league 2 years in a row. Which I don't really know about that because I do think that Giannis still had an edge over him like this year, but I think that he needs to make another deep playoff run, especially now that he has James Harden, to be able to push Jokic off of that spot. And obviously MVP isn't voted based upon playoffs. I know there's only regular season, but I think in the eyes of me, at least, to be pushed ahead of my number 1, Jokic, he needs to make a better playoff run. And yeah, I think Jokic's game is just so much more well-rounded.
I feel like, I hate to say this because I love Joel. I don't think he'll ever pass Jokic because Jokic's offensive game, I feel, is way better because of the well-roundedness, and his defense. I think at this point, Jokic might even take a lead on defense than Joel Embiid because Joel Embiid is getting those blocks, but Joel plays good He's like an Al Horford type defender. He's not getting all those blocks. He's out there with his hands up. He's contesting. He's getting steals. He had, I think, 3 game-winning blocks during this season.
Mm-hmm.
I know he had at least 2 that were very clutch, and if he keeps improving defensively and gets more teammates that can give him more assists, I just see no way that Joel Embiid ever overtakes him in that spot, even though he's so dominant offensively. Because if Joel wants to win, he needs his teammates to step up. That means his numbers will take a dip. Jokic's will stay the same, but his assists will go up.
Well, all right, let me stop you right there because I'm looking at Jokic's numbers. So obviously the last time that Jamal Murray played was 2019-2020, right?
The season before this one.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Okay, then never mind. Continue.
Yeah, and I just think as long as his assist numbers improve, his scoring will probably improve because he'll round out his game. His pass fakes will be more lethal, and he'll get to his spots way easier. Where Joel Embiid, I feel like he'll get less calls this year because the refs are like, we're not going to let you get 12 free throws a game anymore, so his numbers will dip, and then he has to pass to Harden and Maxey, so his numbers will dip. And then I don't think he'll take that defensive effort because he doesn't want to get injured because of how fragile he is. And just because of that, I think he will stay as 2. He might win an MVP, but I don't think he'll be better than Jokic, even if he wins it.
Okay, so looking at Jamal Murray, he played 48 games in 2020, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So he was averaging... So Jokic in that season was averaging around 2024, and then since he played the majority of that season without Jamal Murray, he ended up averaging 26. And if you look at it, I'm pretty sure 2019. So I'm pretty sure 2020 to 2021 was Julius Randle's MIP season.
Mm-hmm.
But looking back at it, I'm pretty sure Jokic deserved it.
Yeah, Jokic went from 20 to 26.
He had a 7-point per game increase, and
Wow.
I don't know if that's because of Jamal Murray, because honestly it could be, since he was still injured for half of that season, and just because of the massive decrease there from when he was playing with Jamal Murray to when he wasn't. I don't think that takes away from his greatness, but I think that the Nuggets, I think it has a lot to do with the Nuggets coach, where they have to, like, I think Mike Malone has to, like, figure out how to get both of them to be 25 points per game scorers, but still have Jokic be able to get triple doubles.
I feel like at this point, they don't need that 20, 25, 25. As long as they have Jokic getting 20, 10, and 9, Jamal Murray averaging 22 and 5, and then you have Michael Porter Jr. averaging 19. You have Aaron Gordon being a good defender.
Mm-hmm.
You have people like KCP coming off and lighting it off the bench. I think if they surround Jokic with shooting, they can win a championship. That's what I believe, because this year they did so well with people who shot terribly.
Yeah, so
and if
I
they
think,
surround him with good
I mean,
shooting.
they have KCP now too, so
KCP's lethal.
I think that's, I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
All right, I guess, so just a reminder, these 5 videos were about people who played 40 or more games.
Yeah.
No, more than
41
games.
and more.
So, people,
So we left
Ben Simmons,
Ben
Lillard
Simmons,
were not included.
Kawhi, Paul George, Anthony
a few more.
Davis.
So, with that concludes our 5 top 10 positional videos. Thank you for watching. This is Rebound.
Peace.